It was a crisp autumn morning, the kind where the air seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for something monumental to happen. In the small town of Rosendale, where nothing ever seemed out of the ordinary, the news hit like a thunderclap. It had been 20 years since Emily Matthews, a vibrant 22-year-old journalism student, had been found dead in the woods behind Rosendale University. No one had suspected foul play at first. The town had believed that it was a tragic accident, maybe an unfortunate fall, or a random act of violence by some stranger passing through. But Emily's mother, Janet Matthews, had always known something was wrong. Her daughter wasn't the type of person to get caught up in something reckless. Emily had dreams, big dreams. She was supposed to change the world, to expose corruption, to make a difference. Janet never believed the story the police had closed the case with. The local authorities had given up long ago. It seemed like they didn't care, but for Janet, the pain of losing her daughter in such an inexplicable way was unbearable. And then, 20 years later, there it was, the headline that shook Rosendale to its core. The Emily Matthews case was being reopened due to new evidence. Detective Sarah Cooper, an ambitious investigator with a reputation for never backing down from a challenge, stood in her cramped office at the Rosendale Police Department. The fluorescent lights above her flickered sporadically, casting long shadows across the cluttered desk filled with cold case files. But it was one file that caught her attention today, the Emily Matthews file. She had heard of the case growing up, the mysterious death that no one could solve. The media had briefly covered it, but the details were fuzzy now. A pretty young woman, killed in the prime of her life. Everyone knew the story, but no one knew the truth. Sarah cracked open the file with a sigh. Inside, there were pages and pages of reports detailing the investigation, the witnesses, and the theories. They all led to the same dead end. No one had seen anything, and the evidence was minimal at best. She flipped through the pages slowly, and then something caught her eye. There was one name that appeared repeatedly, Jake Foster, Emily's ex-boyfriend. She read the reports again, carefully this time, and something about it felt off. Jake had always been the prime suspect in Emily's death, but there was never enough evidence to charge him. But why did he keep coming up in the reports? Why had no one dug deeper into his life? Suddenly, Sarah felt the weight of the file on her shoulders. This wasn't just another cold case. This was something personal. This was a story that had been begging for the truth to come out. Jake Foster had been a promising student back in the day. Tall, confident, and charming, he had the perfect image. A golden boy with a dark secret. He had been Emily's first love, and at one point, everyone thought they were destined for a future together. But the closer Emily got to exposing some of the darker parts of Jake's life, the more their relationship began to deteriorate. Sarah decided to start with Jake. She needed to know everything about him, where he had been, what he had been doing in the days leading up to Emily's death. The more she dug, the more unsettling the findings became. Jake had moved away shortly after Emily's death, starting a new life in another city. But records showed that he had been in Rosendale the night of Emily's murder. He had lied to the police, claiming he had been out of town, but surveillance footage proved otherwise. Jake had a lot of explaining to do, but every time Sarah tried to contact him, he would deny the allegations or ignore her. It was as if he had something to hide, and the more she dug, the more she began to wonder just how far he was willing to go to keep the truth buried. But Sarah wasn't ready to let go. She had a hunch. Something told her that Jake was involved, and the answers were hidden beneath layers of lies and deception. What she didn't know, however, was that the deeper she went, the more dangerous the path would become. It was a rainy Tuesday when Sarah received the call. A forensics team had made a breakthrough. They had been re-examining the evidence from Emily's case, and this time they had found something new, something that had been overlooked all those years ago. Hidden in the files was an unexamined piece of evidence. A phone, Emily's phone. It had been wiped clean of all data, but what hadn't been deleted were a series of encrypted voice recordings. The files were retrieved, and as Sarah listened to the first one, her heart skipped a beat. Emily's voice filled the room, calm but clearly agitated. Emily, on the recording, Jake, this has gone too far. I'm going to expose everything. I can't sit back and let you ruin everything for me. You think I don't know what you've been doing? The money laundering, the shady deals. This is bigger than you think. Sarah froze. This was the key. Emily had discovered something huge about Jake's business dealings. She was planning to expose him, but Jake was desperate. Desperate enough to do anything to keep his secrets hidden. The voice on the other end of the line wasn't Emily's. It was Jake's. His voice was tight, strained, but eerily calm. Emily, you don't understand. This isn't just about us anymore. You need to walk away from this. If you don't, you'll regret it. The line went silent for a moment before Emily's voice cut through again. Emily, on the recording, I'm not afraid of you, Jake. You don't get to control me anymore. The recording ended abruptly, but Sarah knew what she had just uncovered. Emily had been in danger. Jake had threatened her, and now Sarah had the proof. Sarah's next step was to confront Jake. She had enough evidence to arrest him, but she needed more. She needed the truth. And as she stood outside Jake's office, the weight of the past 2 decades seemed to hang heavy in the air. She was about to confront a man who had been hiding the truth for so long. But little did she know, she was about to uncover something even darker than she could have imagined. When Jake finally arrived, there was no escape. He tried to deny everything, but Sarah's calm demeanor and steady questioning unraveled him piece by piece. Jake, you don't understand. I never meant for it to go this far. Emily, she was going to ruin everything. Sarah pressed him harder, forcing him to admit what he had done. But it wasn't just about hiding his fraudulent business deals, it was about silencing Emily forever. Jake, breaking down, I didn't want to kill her, but she wouldn't stop asking questions. She wouldn't let it go. She was going to destroy my life. I didn't have a choice. The truth came out in a flood of emotions, each word more devastating than the last. Jake had killed Emily, not because he was angry, but because he was afraid. He had buried her in the woods, hoping no one would ever find her. But what Jake didn't know was that his lies were finally over. Sarah had done the impossible. She had cracked the case that had haunted Rosendale for 20 years. Jake Foster was arrested, and the truth about his corruption, his lies, and the cold-blooded murder of Emily Matthews was laid bare for the world to see. The trial that followed was swift, but the emotional toll on Emily's family was unimaginable. Janet Matthews, Emily's mother, was finally able to stand in the courtroom, holding her daughter's memory close, as justice was served. It was a long road to get here, but the truth had finally come to light, and as the courtroom doors closed behind Jake Foster, Sarah felt a bittersweet sense of victory. The case had been solved, but the pain that lingered for those involved could never truly be erased. As Sarah sat alone in her office that night, reflecting on everything she had uncovered, she realized that sometimes the truth is the most dangerous thing you can find. It can tear apart families, shatter lives, and expose the darkest parts of human nature. But in the end, it's the truth that sets you free. It's the truth that gives you the strength to move on, to heal, and to rebuild what was lost. The case of Emily Matthews was more than just a cold case. It was a reminder that no matter how deep the secrets go, the truth always finds its way to the surface. What would you do if you discovered the truth about someone you loved? Would you expose it even if it meant losing everything? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more cold cases.